Mom, do you hear something?
It was a weekday afternoon, and I had just returned home with my daughter, preparing for exams, who had come down with a fever. From the supposedly empty second floor of our house, we could strangely hear noises. Noticing something was amiss, my daughter and I carefully ascended the stairs, trying not to make any sound. That day, my husband was supposed to have left early in the morning to attend a gathering at his in-laws' house with relatives. Yet, the car he was supposed to use was parked in our driveway. I had a bad feeling about this. And then, we noticed the sound was coming through from the bedroom door on the second floor.
This can't be happening. Please no.
I peeked through the slightly open door. My daughter, feeling nauseous, covered her mouth and stepped back. Perhaps because it was a small noise, the ongoing sounds didn't stop. In the bed of our bedroom was my husband. And with him was Sophia, my mother-in-law, known for her beauty that defied her age. Yes, what unfolded before my eyes was my husband having an affair with his own mother. My husband was kind to both my daughter and I, and also respected his mother as well, seemingly the perfect man. But those memories shattered into pieces like fragile glass. While on the verge of tears, my daughter tried to make me step back. However, despite the shock, I managed to hold up my mobile phone. Without them noticing us, I captured enough evidence of the two. Then, I left to let my sick daughter rest.
Aria, I'll talk to the two of them. Please wait downstairs and keep warm.
My name is Isabella, 45 years old. I work at an office and live happily with my husband William, who is 4 years younger than me, and our daughter Aria, preparing for her college entrance exams. I met my husband through my father. Our fathers were close through business, and since we were close in age, our fathers introduced each other. At that time, my husband was still in his second year of a sales job, young, and I, being older, often felt intimidated. However, he was kind to me and asked me out. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and soon after, he proposed. The in-laws I met during our marriage introduction seemed classy and very kind. Sophia looked quite young, and she was only 37 when Willem and I got married. But then I learned she remarried William's father when my husband was in middle school. Despite not being blood-related, the in-laws' house felt very close and seemed that they understood each other very well. At the introduction of the in-laws, my husband said, "After Dad remarried Mom, I finally understood what it means for a family to become one. I grew up without a mom and felt lonely, but because Sophia cherished our family, I am who I am today. I want to build a family like that with Isabella." But suddenly, I felt uneasy about the closeness between Sophia and him. I heard he was enthusiastic about household chores, but he would often leave me to help Sophia with her cooking. They exchanged conversations happily, consulting about recipes while working together. Sophia was very kind to me, but I felt the balance with my husband was off. Although there was a slight discomfort, I was more surprised by how close in age Sophia and I were. I thought I was overthinking it and let it go. Then, with blessings from both parents and relatives, we had our wedding. Life as a married couple began, and my husband's keenness on housework was very comforting. He was a salesman who excelled at all household tasks. All taught by Sophia. Feeling secure, our married life was peaceful, and within a year, we were blessed with a child. My husband was delighted and became even more diligent at work. He would come home late every day, but frequently messaged me during the day, showing his concern. I was having a healthy pregnancy. But one day, my husband said, "Since it's your first childbirth, I want you to feel safe and not worry so much." And so he suggested I go back to my parents' house to give birth. Indeed, I had been feeling anxious about childbirth and parenting, leading to many gloomy days. I was planning to take maternity and parental leave, but it was difficult to obtain parental leave at my husband's workplace. For these reasons, I was grateful that my husband suggested going back to my parents.
Indeed, I'm a bit anxious, and having support from my parents would be reassuring. I'm considering going back home to give birth. Yeah, that's a good idea. If it makes you feel at ease, I'll do anything,
he said, respecting my decision and happily seeing me off. My husband, skilled in household chores, had no trouble keeping our home spotless every day. With Sophia around, I had nothing to worry about while I was away and could face childbirth with peace of mind. And so, our daughter, Aria, was born without any issues. Due to frequent sudden business trips, it was difficult for my husband to take paternity leave. However, he managed his limited time well and played a significant role in parenting. On his days off, he spent time with our daughter, reducing my burden, and our nearby in-laws often came over to visit and went out together. Even after our daughter was born, my husband would often rely on Sophia, calling her to come over, wanting to spend time together.
Mom has never had a child of her own, so I want to give her the chance to bond with a baby.
My husband always cared for Sophia. I fully embraced the idea and said,
I guess even without blood ties, such a deep parent-child relationship can be built.
And I thought of my husband as a kind, mom-loving person. Since Sophia was a housewife, she could take care of Aria in my stead when I returned to work. During the day, we relied on childcare centers and babysitters, so it wasn't like we left our daughter alone all the time. But Sophia would visit our home whenever she had the time.
Sophia, I'm sorry for always making you clean up. It's shameful of me to rely on you and take up your time when I should be doing more. It's okay. I enjoy doing this. Besides, I never had the chance to raise a baby, so I want to help as much as I can. This is how I wanted to spend my time.
Whenever I apologized, feeling guilty, she would kindly respond like this. Not only Sophia always meticulously cleaned for us, but also left behind elaborate meals. And so with the help of Sophia, we somehow managed to raise our daughter. Time flew by, and now our daughter is 17. Preparing for the challenging entrance exams of a prestigious national university, attending daily supplementary lessons and tutoring. Around this time, we received an invitation to gather at the in-laws' house with relatives. It was a weekday, so I had work. And my daughter would be late due to supplementary lessons, so I want to drive her home for safety.
All right, how about I represent this family and go alone? It's better to have someone who can drive to stay behind to pick up Aria, and they said they'll order takeout, so no need for kitchen help, and taking a day off might look bad at work, right?
That makes sense. I feel bad for Mom and the others, but could you please go on our behalf? With only a few people attending, my daughter and I decided to stay behind. However, in the middle of the day, I received a call from the school.
Your daughter has developed a fever and is feeling unwell.
And my husband went alone. Concerned it might be the flu, I rushed out of work in a panic to pick her up. Fortunately, it seemed like it was just fatigue from the changing seasons and not the flu. While picking up some easy-to-eat items like jelly on our way home, I noticed something odd. My husband's car, which shouldn't have been there, was parked in the driveway. He had said that morning, "I'm going to pick up some elderly relatives." My daughter noticed too and tilted her head. "Is Dad back?" Trying not to let my agitation show, I replied, "Maybe he forgot something." As we entered, my heart sank. The sight of unfamiliar women's shoes scattered beside my husband's, not belonging to me. A dreadful premonition swelled within me. I told my daughter to enter quietly. She looked puzzled but followed my instruction to enter the house without making noise. Feeling sorry for her condition and wanting to settle her down for rest, we headed to her room on the second floor. However, on our way up the stairs, we noticed something was off.
Mom, do you hear something?
Indeed, there were faint sounds, like voices. I led the way, trying to identify the source of the noises. It seemed to come from our bedroom. Despite a bad feeling, I couldn't stop myself. The bedroom door was inexplicably ajar, allowing us a glimpse inside. Peeking in, it was clear who was there. My husband and Sophia, who shouldn't have been there. I could feel the presence of them from the bed. The voices and sounds made it obvious they were in the midst of an affair. My daughter, realizing what was happening in the bedroom, covered her mouth, looking nauseous, and stepped back.
This can't be happening. Please no.
My daughter clung to me with eyes filled with tears. She was trying to get me, who had become immobile, to back away. Truthfully, I felt like I might collapse at any moment too. I had seen the scene more clearly than my daughter, and I couldn't believe this was reality. My mind went completely blank. My husband had always been so kind. But, had his kindness always been primarily directed towards Sophia? Was he pretending to be the perfect husband, the perfect dad, just to keep their affair secret? My daughter had always looked up to her dad. The regret of having her witness such a horrific scene was overwhelming. Wait downstairs. I told my daughter so and somehow managed to urge her to quietly leave the area. I'll go talk to them.
Since you're feverish, could you rest in the guest room and stay warm?
She seemed reluctant to leave me, but she finally acquiesced. She nodded and went downstairs with a worried look on her face. I didn't want to make a scene while she was in the house. But I couldn't just overlook this situation. At any rate, I thought to myself, I need to document this. Even if I couldn't confront them in the bedroom right then, capturing this scene was necessary to prevent any future denials. I had been thoroughly betrayed by both my husband and Sophia, so there was no time for hesitation or to consider their feelings or reasons. I immediately took out my mobile phone and started recording with the video camera, capturing the oblivious pair for a while. Perhaps because I had sent my daughter away, the nausea I had been fighting back seemed to subside, and my thoughts gradually became clearer and more composed. And I realized I couldn't face my husband and Sophia alone. In order to arrange a calm discussion, I made up my mind. After stopping the recording, I attached the video to a message and sent it. The recipients were the relatives gathered at the in-laws' house. By that evening, relatives arrived at our house with expressions of shock and panic. Sophia and my husband, having gone to sleep after their act, hadn't woken up for several hours until the relatives gathered. While checking on my daughter, I nervously waited in the living room on the first floor, trying not to make any noise for the relatives. Could my father-in-law John, who holds a high position in a large company, be relied upon at such a time? However, the fury of John who had arrived was fierce. Since I had informed them in advance that my daughter was ill and resting, they did not storm in shouting, but the level of anger was such that it wouldn't have been surprising if it had escalated to a police matter had my daughter not been there. Sophia and my husband were woken up by the relatives and brought down to the living room, both with pale faces. After giving my daughter food and fever medicine, I had moved her to her room on the second floor to rest. John confronted the two, sitting down, with the video I had recorded.
When did you start deceiving both Isabella and I by engaging in such a relationship?
John inquired in a low voice. My husband began to speak hesitantly, and as he did, shocking truths were revealed. He said his relationship with Sophia began around the time our daughter was born, when I was away due to childbirth. He had harbored feelings for Sophia since he was a child, when they first met. At that time, Sophia, the newly remarried mother, was only 27 years old and William was 14. It was more like the age of a sister than a mother. My husband, wanting to be close to Sophia, who was kind to him as a mother, actively helped with cooking and cleaning, even as a son. Sophia thought of him as a good son who got along well with his new mother, but it seems he was satisfied harboring his one-sided affection. Despite not being blood-related, they were in a parent-child relationship. Understanding they couldn't be together, my husband began to look for a marriage partner in an attempt to move on from his feelings for Sophia. Hearing about this, he was introduced to me by the in-laws, and thus we ended up marrying, going along with the flow. I could only stare at him in disbelief, remembering all the kind gestures, unable to believe what I was hearing. But I couldn't forget her. Rather, as we lived together as husband and wife, I kept thinking, why Isabella? Why not Mom? And so, when Isabella went back to her parents' house, I gave in to my feelings. Of course, my husband didn't force himself on Sophia. Sophia, with tears, said, "At first, I was aware of and resisted the betrayal. But as they continued their secret meetings, their guilt seemed to fade away. At the time of their remarriage, due to the in-laws' age, there was no discussion about having a second child. This led to their marital relations becoming distant early on. My husband was aware that Sophia felt lonely. Sophia, who always had a preference for handsome men, found herself irresistibly drawn to her young and well-featured stepson. Despite her initial resistance, she eventually succumbed to his advances. We listened to her candid confession, struggling to suppress our nausea. This relationship had continued for 17 years until now. All of us, including myself and the relatives, were speechless. It was revealed that my husband told me he would attend the family gathering, while he told the relatives that our family would not be able to attend. Sophia left the house early in the morning, claiming she suddenly felt ill and needed to visit the hospital, but she went straight to our home where my husband greeted her, and they headed to the bedroom. This was not the first time such lies were told. All of us had been deceived for 17 years. The relatives could have handled the situation maturely if it were just among adults, but the fact that their relationship was known to their own daughter compounded the issue, leading to strong disapproval. "I can't believe you've been sneaking around and deceiving everyone like this. Think about what society will say. How do you plan to explain this to Arya? This isn't just about the two of you. Do you understand?" The relatives took turns denouncing the two. However, they seemed to become defiant, beginning to defend each other. "We truly love each other. There's no blood relation. It's not a problem since we're not actually a parent and a child. Maybe it's Dad's fault for neglecting her." I silently endured their painful excuses. John and I demanded a divorce from our partners. Neither my husband nor Sophia opposed, and all parties present signed the divorce papers on the spot. Later, John and I hired lawyers to seek compensation related to the divorce. Considering the impact on our daughter, my ex-husband had already moved out to live in a hotel, where Sophia, now ousted from her home, joined him. They decided to live together openly, but Sophia, having been a housewife for many years and was used to marrying a high-earning executive, was known for her extravagant spending, which my ex-husband only discovered after moving in with her. Although she was familiar with housework and known for her cooking skills, she always wore expensive-looking clothes and bags. She seemed to have a vast collection of outfits, rarely seen wearing the same scarf twice, always dressing fashionably. Despite my ex-husband's high salary as a top salesperson, this arrangement didn't last long. A friend from my college days, who happened to work at my ex-husband's company, informed me post-divorce about various matters. Apparently, he frequently left work during weekdays for secret meetings with Sophia. This behavior, revealed during the divorce proceedings, was seen as nothing but short of negligence by his company. Frustrated by his lack of commitment and the recent absenteeism due to the divorce scandal, the management decided to transfer him to a department filled with employees nearing retirement. His new boss was younger than him, but due to complex hierarchies and positions, all menial tasks like making copies and cleaning fell to my ex-husband. This department had no significant work, yet mistakes were somehow common. My ex-husband was always the one apologizing to his younger boss, which greatly stressed him. His stress soon manifested physically, accelerating his hair loss. Once known for his good looks, his popularity among women plummeted as he aged and looked increasingly haggard. Moreover, the details of his affair with Sophia, supposedly known to only a few supervisors, leaked. This led to widespread knowledge of his divorce, resulting in him being ostracized and leading a lonely life at work. Despite a decrease in his salary, Sophia's spending habits remained unchanged, leading to financial strain and arguments, with my ex-husband eventually forcing Sophia to take a part-time job. Reluctantly, Sophia started working part-time but internally believed men should be the ones earning money. This attitude led to workplace conflicts, and she frequently quit jobs soon after being hired. Despite having loved each other desperately while hiding it from everyone around them, eventually, the two of them could no longer avoid constant arguments. However, Sophia had nowhere to go even if she was to be pushed out. My ex-husband seemed to understand this and, while leading a loveless life, continued to pay us compensation while living frugally. As for me, I returned to my parents' home with my daughter. With the compensation from my ex-husband and the money from selling our house, I managed to move to a location more convenient for my daughter's desired university. Thanks to her hard work, my daughter successfully passed the entrance exam to her first-choice university. For better or worse, the town where my daughter grew up had too many memories associated with our family and the in-laws' house. To erase those painful memories, we decided to start anew and rented a modest detached house. I am still in contact with John. He had offered that the compensation money demanded from him should be used entirely for his granddaughter's tuition.
It's atonement for what my former wife and son have done.
John said so, but he is one of the few blood relatives my daughter has. Being unemployed and without income after resigning, I gratefully accepted his offer. We don't communicate frequently, but John and I keep in touch, and occasionally, we invite him over for a meal together at our home. Now, I have just managed to re-enter the workforce, watching over my daughter as she works hard towards her dreams. Leveraging my previous office job experience, my income has somewhat stabilized. Perhaps because it was a shock for everyone, my daughter has stopped bringing up my ex-husband and Sophia. However, now that she has become a vibrant university student, I hope she can forget the past and enjoy her days of learning. We are starting to lead fulfilling lives, both personally and professionally.